this is Runa, and you're listening to the Changemakers podcast, where we share tips, insight, tools, and stories from other changemakers designed to motivate you to become the change you want to see in your world. Make sure you join our Changemakers community at runamagnus.com/podcast. And now, this is your time to sit back, relax, and enjoy. Oh my God! It's Runa here with the Changemakers podcast, and I'm telling you, this is a podcast with no script. This is the podcast where I am going to be playing with Jeff Harry. Hi!
Hello, how are you?
So thrilled to have you on this special episode where we're gonna, I'm assuming that we're gonna be talking about playing and how that is linked with leadership and how you can change the world with play, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Jeff, you're the guy that I met at the Wisdom 2.0 conference, and I think it was actually the first evening, and it was a playful thing. I mean, we were observing things, weren't we?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I always say this when I'm talking about personal branding and your personal brand, that you already have a personal brand. And my theory is that there's already something that people see in you, that people feel in you, and you can instantly feel if it's authentic or not. And that's the thing that I really caught with you was, hey, here's someone who's just absolutely himself. He sees that it's actually to his benefit to just enter the room as he is, who he is, and I could just see how you basically light up the room when you're in that room, and it's something else. So I'm so glad that to have you as a guest the Changemakers podcast. Just to start with, I know you are all into playing and playfulness and bringing play into businesses and organizations. And tell me, how did play come into your life?
Oh, man. So I just never grew up. I guess that's what it comes down to. Is I saw the movie Big when I was a kid. Do you remember the movie Big?
Yeah.
And then I saw that this grown man was playing for a living, and then I started writing toy companies in 5th grade because I wanted to work for them. And I just kept writing them for 6 years and kept getting rejection letters. You know how now they would take a kid and bring him to the headquarters and put it on Twitter and stuff like that? None of that happened. I got just rejection letter after rejection letter, but I didn't really care because I was just I have all these great toy ideas. I'm going to share them with you. And then ironically enough, I finally got in the toy industry and worked for a few different toy companies, and it was horrible. I was just what happened? Where's all the fun? Where are the kids? Where's everything I was supposed to see in the movies? None of it was there. It was just they were selling plastic. They were selling units of whatever.
Yeah.
And it just was so disappointing. And then I, bumped around in a lot of jobs. And then I finally found this organization where they were teaching kids about engineering, and they were using play and Lego to do it. And the company, when I joined, was about 7 people. And now it's about 350 of us, sometimes up to 400. And it was this, I think the power of it was this idea of how do you get kids excited about learning? Oh, let's do this through play. And then it kind of evolved. And in the last 9 years, we did that again for adults. We were how do we remind adults the power of when they play, what levels of creativity and innovation and all those buzzwords that they're we got to be creative, we got to be innovative, we got to think outside the box. Kids don't even have a box. They're just never even in a box to begin with. Yet, we created something a while ago of how we're supposed to be as adults and how we're supposed to do these things. And it's just who made up these rules? So my goal whenever I'm doing a conference or connecting with people in a team building event is let's get back to what roots you as an individual. What is the thing that excited you when you were playing as a kid, and tie that to what you're doing now and see where you go there. how much bigger if you see the world as a playground. There's this great play expert named Gwen Gordon, and she's like, how do you see the world? Do you see it as a playground, a proving ground, or a battleground? And if you see it as a battleground, you fear everything, and everything's scary. If you see it as a proving ground, you're always trying to prove yourself to other people. But if you see it as a playground, then just like, it's just open. Sky's the limit.
Wow.
It's just like when you used to go to the playground and you just didn't even know what game you were going to play, but it didn't matter because it would just organically happen. That's how a lot of companies and organizations start, in this organic, amazing sort of way. And then they get really big. And then it's just like, oh, now I can't make any mistakes. And you lose the whole playful energy that you started this idea or movement or company in the first place. So it's just like, you just got to play more, man. You just got to tap in more to who you are, you know?
And you must be really busy. The moment you said, and you're right, working in the entrepreneurial field, that's how most businesses actually do start. They do start from an idea that is so exciting.
So exciting. Yeah,
so exciting. And then at a certain point in the business, the entrepreneur very often has to actually go aside because there are other things that come in to grow the business. And all of a sudden, the business has created all these boxes.
Yeah.
Or whoever has created those boxes that no longer play. It's actually a playground. Yeah.
And it's interesting because it almost kind of reminds me also of individuals. Like, I was talking with a colleague of mine who's trying, figuring out what she wants to do next. And it's just like, the question I asked her was like, when did you stop playing? Yeah. Because there's a moment where people forgot or like just stopped. Oh, it was when I was 13 because I had to be cool. Or, oh, I was, 16 because I had to get a job, or there was responsibilities, or I went to college, and play became like this separate thing. And what's interesting that I believe it was Dr. Stuart Brown, who's like a huge play expert, basically was saying how, play, especially in the animal kingdom, is as vital as eating, sleeping, connection, like the level of when you have play deprivation, there's a thing called play deprivation where if you don't play enough, especially they found this with senior citizens, 5 to 10 year less life expectancy. It's worse than smoking. It's worse than obesity. It's this idea of like, you're not playing, you're not connecting with the world. You're not like tapping into you and who you are. And that is affecting you on a physical level. So, it's not just like, oh yeah, I should play a little bit more. No, it is vital. Like if you're going to go work out, great, but you should also play. And then, yeah. So I'm getting excited right now. You just.
No, I love it. So when you are being businesses to tap more into play and create more play, what is the first thing that they should think about?
I think the first thing they should think about is providing permission. We talk a lot about, well, I want people to be more creative. I want them to take more risks. I want them to be innovative and problem solving. Have you created the environment for that? Have you made the environment so you could do that? Or like, are you just giving buzzwords? Yeah. Are you really willing to allow people to fail? Like just putting a ping pong table into a place doesn't mean all of a sudden now, like you guys are a playful bunch. Like, is that the energy that you're creating? Are your meetings more boring? Or are they more exciting? One thing that, we were even connecting about, I think it was Zappos and a few other companies have done stuff where they play to begin some of their meetings. They do some ridiculous thing, whatever it is, some playful thing that has no results, that has no connection to like the outcome, right? Because a huge part of play is like letting go of the results and just messing around, right? And then they go into the meeting, and the meetings have been found to be much more productive, much more creative. People are willing to put a lot of stuff out there. And that's the thing. The CEO, whoever is the leader, has to give permission to everybody else that it's like, this is totally allowed. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see where we go with this. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens a lot with like startups at the beginning because they're like, what are we doing? I don't know. I have no idea what we're doing. We're just making it up as we go along. But then I think at some point when you start thinking more about losing stuff as opposed to gaining, that's when you start being fearful. And if you think of a kid on a playground, when they hurt themselves on the playground, they don't want to play anymore. So you can't play and have fear at the same time. They then run to their parent, they sit with their parent until they feel safe, and then they go out and play again. So you have to really, take a close look at your organization and figure out, are you being driven by fear, or are you being driven by like joy, creativity, play, all these things that you want to have? Yeah.
I think this is so interesting what you're saying regarding having that knowing that you're allowed to do it, knowing that, so that whoever is, your boss or whatever gives you it's okay to do this. And in fact, we actually encourage you to do that. And another thing that I'm also hearing is going back to being a kid and feeling that you're safe.
Yes.
Like it's safe for me to play. I won't be judged.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting that I should say it's abnormal. It really shouldn't be abnormal. It should be normal, shouldn't it?
It should be normal, right?
Yeah.
And just like, because I've been using the word play a lot, the way in which I define it is it can be anything that you do where you almost forget time. Yeah. You almost forget, and that's different for each person, right?
Yeah.
And they're just doing it with no goal in mind as much as they just enjoy the process of that. So like one thing I think Google, I'm not sure if they may still do this, is they allow some of their employees to do projects on the side, like once a month. They devote a certain amount of time a month to do something that has no like direct outcome or benefit to the organization, but it's just a creative thing to do. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, if you're a boss, and you have a bunch of associates or a bunch of people that you work with, find out, is there any small creative thing that they want to pursue, even if it's just for an hour a week or a couple hours a week, because just being allowed to do this other fun thing infuses energy in all the other work that they do, because then it's just like, wow, he or she's letting me do this. This is super cool. They care about me as me. They don't just care about me as like something like a machine that churns out output. That's amazing. I really love this. And then their work gets better. They care more. They're more engaged. And then that trickles to everybody else because you can feel it when people are super excited. And it can go the opposite way as well. So,
and it builds the company culture for sure. And it builds a culture like we, the Changemakers, we talk about culture that is sustainable, inclusive, and magnetic. I mean, it for sure does that with play. I can envision that 100%.
And one thing that I also find really interesting, we've been doing a lot of, with Playwell, the organization I'm part of, we've been doing a lot of community engagement events where we'll like build cities out of Lego. Like we were just at South by Southwest EDU and we built Austin out of Lego. Right. Oh, wow. And we do, and we did it in DC, we did it with the International Rescue Committee, and we had immigrant families that had just arrived build their countries out of Lego. And then we invited the community to meet these families. And then they learned more about these families, and then they all built DC out of Lego together. And it's just like this question of like, how can you bring different groups together, start off by playing, and then have deeper discussions? Because right now we're so polarized, or at least in the US, we're so polarized. And it's just like, well, we have to first find some common plane to be on. And then we can like start to talk to each other, from a much more like loving, caring place. But we got to play more together. And that's like, you got to get people in the room first before you can like, make change. Right. So why can't you do that with play?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on this one. I want to be part of that. How does one become part of that? And that whole, it sounds like a movement. It sounds like something that you say, hey, I want to be playful. I want to be part of that movement. How do you do that? How do you become?
I don't know. It's a hard question to answer because I mean, I know a lot of play people, just being in this like world, but it's been very small because it's like the idea of play is very belittled. It's something that is like specific to kids. And there's a point when it's just like, there's a time to play and then there's a time, to work. And it's just like, for me, it's just like, it's all play. Mm-hmm. It's all play. Like our organization grew and we were very successful because we treated it as play. The way we grew is we picked cities that we thought were fun. Like that was it. No strategic plan, no like analysis. It was just like find fun people, connect with those people, and then just keep it going. And I think that's the thing is like, if you want to be part of it, you just simply do your play, and it almost kind of like people just start gravitating towards each other. Like what happened with you and I. We met at a workshop. I think it was one of the first workshops at Wisdom where people were just playing around. Like it was a really interesting, strange workshop, but it was really like fun. Yeah. And that's kind of how I do it is I just like find the most playful people in the room, definitely and hang out with that person. And that's really just what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
And another thing that I noticed and what you've been saying is really about when you finding that playfulness inside of you. That it sounds to me when you're saying that, it sounds that every single one of us has a playfulness inside of us. Tell me more about that.
Well, in my opinion, I think every single one of us has their own superpower. We all have some unique ability that is really like amazing to us, right? And we either forgot about it or pushed it to the side or didn't think it was that good. And there's something interesting. What's his name? Gay Hendricks, this guy that wrote this book, The Upper Limit. Super interesting book. But he has these things where he's like, you have your zone of incompetence, the things that you like don't really like and you're not very good at. Zone of competence, things you're like average at. Zone of excellence, and this is where most people spend their time, things that they're good at that people give them praise for, so they focus on that. And then there's the zone of genius stuff, and that's where you forget about time, where like even if you only did it for 10 minutes a day would like infuse you with so much energy. What's that? What are those things? Figure that out. Get into that zone of genius stuff. Like this is my zone of genius. Like I love connecting with you and talking about play. Like it's super exciting for me. Like I can feel it. I can just like, this is going to end for the rest of the day. Right. Like how do you spend more of your time in that zone of genius? How do you spend more of your time playing in that world? Because when you play in that world, then all of a sudden, all these other opportunities start popping up. And I think we spend a lot of our time in our zone of excellence because it feels good. It feels good to get a lot of praise. It feels good to make some money.
Are you in your excellence box then?
Oh, I'm absolutely. There are certain things that I do that I'm like, I'm good at, and I know that I need to like spend more time, like even playing more, even though I play for a living. Yeah. Like playing for a living can also get super serious because then you forget that you need to loosen up even more. Yeah. And I was recently on another podcast of a friend of mine, and we all committed as a group of 4 to be like, we're going to do 30 days of play, and our hashtag is 30 days of play. And we're going to find any way to play. And we're talking about grown adults. My friend Sean O'Connor, was sending Instagram photos of him jumping into puddles and skipping and just doing all this like ridiculous stuff. But it was this idea of like, I'm just going to embrace being ridiculous, at least for a certain period of time each day. And then just see if my day is better. Just see.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how things have kind of start to evolve because you play in one area and then you almost prime your mind to be playful in every other aspect of your life. You start seeing opportunities more and more.
Yeah, of course you do. You're in the high frequency. You're in the vortex. And you are in that. And with everyone on the same level, you are high and everything is happening. But it's a natural high for sure. I have one, and this might be a serious question, but I love listening to you and absolutely start to think about how can I put more play into my own life. And I think actually I'm pretty playful. But I'm listening to you, I have to admit that I do think about, I probably can do more than what I'm doing. And I'm going to do that for sure. And I encourage people to go into that playful mood. And even one of the things that I'm picking up from you is how we use our language. You talked about playing for work. How about if we would for 1 week not use the word I'm going to work, rather saying I'm going to play?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's super powerful. Yeah.
Just
or you start your meetings where we're going to play.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't really care what the result of this meeting is, but we're going to have fun at this meeting.
Yeah.
You set yourself up, you prime yourself in that way. Oh, I think that the level, that type of language is super powerful.
Yeah. Hashtag playing today. So one question. I know you're doing amazing things with your team and with your clients, and you are in a beautiful way changing the world. What is the core thing that you would like to change worldwide, and what do you see you want to have as your role creating that change?
I want to utilize play as a change agent. I feel like if you want to, bring discordant groups together, you can use play to do it. If you want to solve something like, global warming, you have to approach it from a playful mindset. It's a serious issue, but for us to, as we were talking earlier, think outside the box, we need to not believe there was a box to begin with if we're going to try to approach this issue, especially when it's such a massive issue where so many people have to be involved in order for this to happen. We do this with our students. We're running these like test classes right now where we build a community with students, like their city. And then we're like, hey, by the way, it's 20 years from now and water levels are higher, food is scarce, water is a big issue. What are you going to do? And they play with it as kids and try to figure out what are the resources that I can use? How do I share? Should I share? Should I hold it for myself? Like, we do this, and this is like what they're learning, at 7, 8, 9 years old, just because like that's the mindset. It's so powerful, like the lessons that a kid can teach you about being present, about being open, about not being judgmental, especially at a young age when they haven't been jaded. And that is where like so much of our answers to huge, crucial issues are. How do you first help people? How do I, like, if I'm thinking for myself, how do I first be present for myself, right? How do I stay and figure out who I am? Okay, I've figured that out. I'm more connected. Now I can connect with other people. Okay, now that we can connect with other people, now let's start playing with the possibilities of what is out there, what's possible. Can we reverse the global warming crisis? Wow, that seems super big, but you got to play with it to figure out if that's something that you really can deal with, right? Can you, in the US, can you bring Republicans and Democrats together? Well, maybe you're going to have to start playing first and get them on the same page, or bring their kids together first before you start having these bigger conversations. And, because we want to stay in our little roles. Like, how do you play has so many different aspects that can answer so many different questions, but we have to first be open to trying it. And it doesn't seem like that is a go-to. A lot of times people want to just talk, and I just don't think that's doable. Like, if you really, I think it was the Oz principle, where it's like, if you really want to change someone's mindset, you need to change their experience. Well, how do you change their experience? You have to have the same experience, and ideally a playful one, so that both of you resonate and connect with each other. And one thing we tell a lot of companies when we're doing our team building events is, there's a quote from, I believe it's Plato, where 1 hour of play equals a year's worth of conversation. And you can see it. You can see it right there when an adult meets another adult, but you're not meeting them for the first time as adults. You're meeting them as kids. Oh, that's how Johnny was as a kid. Oh, that's how Sally was as a kid. All of a sudden they're connecting. Even though they've known each other for a decade, now they're connecting on a deeper level. Let's start there. So
I love that. That reminds me of the joke when you introduce total strangers and you say, hey, Jeff, do you know, Jeff, your grandmother and my grandmother, they were grandmothers. That's a connection.
Awesome. That's awesome. A friend of mine just said this to me recently. She was just like, I go into situations, she's like, because she travels a lot, and she's like, will you be my friend? Like, she uses the same sentence that she said when she was a kid.
Yeah.
And it
Will you
works.
be my friend? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is so cute.
Yeah, of course I will be. Of course.
Okay.
People haven't heard that in like forever, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then she has these glorious, amazing adventures with random, you know, people that she just met because she went straight to the play part.
Yeah.
And was like, will you be my friend? What are we doing? What adventures are we doing today? And then they just go ahead and go do them, just like you did in the playground when you were 5 years old.
So, Jeff, will you continue to be my friend and the Friends with the Changemakers and continue?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Let's do some cool stuff together.
I love that. Tell our audience where they can find more about you. We will put that in the show notes as well, but just in case they're listening on either Apple Podcast or Stitcher, where should they go to get more information about you, Jeff?
Yeah, so our organization is Playwell Technologies, play-well.org is the organization. And my Twitter and my Instagram handle is Jeff Harry Plays, at Jeff Harry Plays. Yeah, and just connect with me and we can nerd out and stuff. You know, our organization has so much Lego and we're always trying to figure out, like, how do we make change or do crazy things with a ridiculous amount of Lego. So if you have an idea, reach out to me, Jeff at play-well.org, and let's nerd out.
And let's play. Thank you so much, Jeff. Just love this. Was this podcast of value for you? I sure hope so. If so, feel free to share the love and give us your generous review on iTunes or Stitcher. And remember that you can always go to runemagnus.com to find out more about the Changemakers and how we can help you drive the change you want to see in your world.